for this particular project, we compared how millennials, whatever your definition of it, in this case it was 18 to 29-year-olds. It's quite broad, but if you compare how that group talk about, in this case, mobile phones, with how people my age and north talk about mobile phones, we're interested in completely different things, right?
And what kinds of things? What are the differences?
So they're much more interested in the use of the camera.
Yeah.
So you talk to them about the camera, whereas if I walk in the store, talk to me about my family and where I'm going to get help from.
Yeah.
That, that's a very simple game.
That's very different.
And that's very strategic.
And actually, there was a lovely example of language that I saw on some of the stuff that I saw about relative insight online, which was the phrase shot on an iPhone or shot by iPhone and shot. And do you want to talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, it actually, Apple use it infamously on their billboards now, but it actually came from our research for Microsoft Mobile before them. So they...
Dun, dun, dun. World first, everyone.
Yeah. So Microsoft Mobile were launching a new camera phone, and it had this amazing camera on it.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, they were aiming it at digital SLR enthusiasts, so fairly expensive camera enthusiasts, amateur photographers, basically. So, and they created a campaign around this. And guy we bumped into at an event, he explained that he owned one of these cameras, was looking at the campaign and thinking, well, this language doesn't resonate with me, but he tried to explain this and was told politely that campaign team they'd worked very hard on the content, you know, a lot of politics at play here and vested interest, and it was all happening. So he said to us, look, if you can provide me evidence to back up my anecdote, then that's a huge thing. And that's exactly what we did. We scooped up language from a couple of specialist forums where these people were talking about photography and compared it to how so-called regular consumers, you and I, were talking about cameras and photography. And he was absolutely right. And we did this amazing thing where it happens quite a lot, I guess, but produced a 60-page report that no one actually read. They read the abstract at the beginning, and it had maybe a dozen pieces of insight. And number one was, so in the campaign content, they were talking about taking great photos with this amazing device. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it was taking photos.
Yeah.
And they don't use that language. They talk about shooting images, and they assume that you're not part of their tribe, and therefore they switch off. That's it. Yeah. So the content was getting it wrong, but they didn't even know that. And the key thing about it is it's an unknown unknown. Yeah. So Donald Rumsfeld infamously talked about this and during the Iraq War. And he used very clumsy language at the time, but he was right. So there's this thing about not knowing what to search for. It's just an unknown unknowns. We know that there may be a problem, but we don't know where it is or what it might be. And that's exactly what we find. We think of ourselves as kind of a discovery engine as opposed to a search engine. You don't have to know what you're searching for. We just bubble it up. And of course it caused an absolute shitstorm at Nokia, but they changed the language, and ultimately that was a huge success, and Apple stole it.
And now it's everywhere on the underground network.
Yeah.